Let's go to rushing yards and where are we looking for the target number in this one? With running backs, always kind of getting hurt. Medium projections are pretty useless in this one in particular.
Yeah, the target is a lot lower than you would think. Like I remember as a kid growing up, it's like you talk about the 1,000-yard rushers, and in my head, it's like, oh, so every team must have a 1,000-yard rusher, right? Like it's not happening that much anymore. These days, we only get like 3 or 4 guys even hit 1,200 rushing yards, and typically in the last recent years, only 1 or 2 guys even hit 1,400 yards. And it doesn't feel that way because Jonathan Taylor had a monster year last year, Derrick Henry the year before, but those were the 2 huge outliers. Like Jonathan Taylor won rushing yards by like 500 or 600 yards last year.
Yep.
So I think you have to start there with the books price, Taylor and Henry, and then just behind them, Dalvin Cook and Nick Chubb as the 4 guys at the top. Those are clearly the right 4 guys. Like those are the 4 that should be the leaders. But again, for me, especially with running backs, I can't do it. I can't play these guys because the injury threat is always such a possibility here. And when there's 4 guys kind of in the mix there, you're playing like a 450, 500, 600 in some of these guys. Yeah, I know if Derrick Henry is healthy and plays 17 games, yeah, you should bet on him then. If you have a magic 8 ball that tells you you're getting 17 healthy Derrick Henry games, then stop what you're doing and go bet on that right now. But I think with running backs, it's so volatile that I can't do the favorites here. So actually, this one is where I have some of my longest plays on the board because I just want to take a shot. And running back, you're looking at just who can possibly crack some volume that you're not really expecting and who could get that outlier season.
And who are you looking at?
So my top play here is Rashad Penny. So Seattle running back 50-1. Seattle had whoever their lead running back was last year had 10 or more carries in all but 1 game. They just had 3 guys. So we didn't really notice. It was spread out. If you played fantasy, you noticed because the last 5 games of the season, Rashad Penny was winning the leagues for you. Last 5 games, he averaged 18 carries, 135 yards. So that's pace for 306 carries, 2,281 yards over a season. Obviously, 5 games don't just magically pace to 17, but you see the upside there. We know Seattle's going to run a lot. Rashad Penny's a really talented runner. Like he might be a top 5 talent in the league. So if he gets a lot of chances, he was at 6.3 yards a carry last year. So we're not getting that again, but high volume, good yards per carry, run heavy team. It's not a great line. It's not a great offense. You don't have a quarterback there. So I understand the case against it, but I think he's in line to be the bell cow there. I project him around 1350 as far as yardage goes. So that puts him in play. You bust off 1 big long run or 2, and then he's right in there. So I like Rashad Penny 50-1. He's my favorite play here.
Yeah, it's really comes, it's health with him too, because he's missed, I think it's over 40% of his career games. So that's kind of why I think they went out and gotten Walker. So, this one is one where, I like to thinking though, we've seen him kind of do this for a period of time. Now it's just, can he do this over a longer period of time? Joe, any thoughts on this one?
I think it's just comes down to feeling good about, are they going to be a winning team? That's my biggest concern with taking a guy like Penny is just, if you're going to be down 20 at halftime, nearly every game, you're likely going to abandon the run. And there's just only a few running backs in the league where teams are so stubborn that they'll still run them down 3 scores. And that's kind of my only issue. But as far as the upside is concerned and those odds, yeah, sign me up.
Yeah, my counterpoint to that would be Pete Carroll. Like, there's only so many coaches who are stubborn and will keep on running, and I think Pete Carroll might actually be one of them. So you're right. The Seattle is not going to be good. That is definitely a problem. My other pick is from the same in the division. I like Eli Mitchell, and this one kind of surprised me. Looking back, like we know Kyle Shanahan, you never know which running back's going to pop. So we'll have Eli Mitchell leading the league for 10 weeks and then just randomly fumble once and get benched and never heard from again. Like I understand that is fully in play here, but I was surprised looking at the numbers. Last year, he had 9 games with 17 or more carries. I didn't expect that sort of workload from him. He only really had 2 healthy games where he didn't get that huge number of carries. So he averaged almost 19 carries a game. I love to take running backs and take upside on running backs in offense where you got a running quarterback. That usually is a nice uptick in their yards per carry just because, you're playing 11-on-11 and defenses have to respect that. Trey Lance might get some rushes. You get a one linebacker leaning the wrong direction, and Mitchell breaks off a longer run. Again, offensive line is worse here, and it's not necessarily going to be great running for Mitchell all the time, but it's a volume play looking at those attempts. And, kind of feels like Shanahan might have actually found a runner that he trusts in. We'll see. Famous last words, I know, but I think Mitchell, if he actually gets the workload and is healthy, could get to like 300, 320 carries. So at 25-1, I thought that was an interesting play.
That's a little tougher for me because Shanahan has specifically said he doesn't want to give Mitchell these many carries. He's like, I mean, no, they kept 5 running backs on the roster, and I'm not even talking about Juszczyk. Like, they kept 5 real living, breathing halfbacks on the roster, on an NFL roster in 2022. So I think that's the worry, with him. But I mean, it's the worry with a lot of these guys. This day and age, I think there's just a lot of committee backfield. So I almost think yes, you want a guy who's like on a winning team and is going to be able to run, but you have to have that just snap share and be able to kind of, dominate that workload for the entire season. So, I think one guy who stands out to me, and, it's not sexy because it's the team, again, is not going to be a good team, but Saquon Barkley at 25-1. I mean, he's got longer odds than a lot of these guys. He's got the same odds as J.K. Dobbins. That's kind of ridiculous, Yeah. So Saquon Barkley, if he's healthy, I think he's going to get back to that 80-90% snap share in that offense. And, we saw, for example, even Dable, gave Devin Singletary down the stretch, once he gave up on Zach Moss and everybody, Devin Singletary was out there every single snap. And I think there's a chance that Barkley, starts the year like that and just continues. So I really think that's what you're looking for. I mean, I think even a guy like Najee Harris at 20-1, is in play because everyone's going to point to the offensive line and, how good is Pittsburgh going to be, this and that. But at the end of the day, Najee Harris is going to get 85-90% of those backfield carries in most weeks. So it's really, that's all it comes down to for me in this market, is just how high a percentage of the snap share can you get for the entire year.
Yeah, that makes sense. I like Saquon too. I like how they upgraded their offensive line. I think the tackles are really kind of coming into play for them there. So that helps him. The other one I like here, just as a sprinkling the long shot, Kareem Hunt, 150-1. You're basically betting on, will Nick Chubb go down in September? If he does, then you want that Kareem Hunt ticket because he's suddenly going to be the guy with a great offensive line in a run heavy team. If Hunt suddenly disappeared, Nick Chubb would be the favorite to win this category, I think. And he's at 10-1 right now. Kareem Hunt is one injury away in a very volatile position. So that's the case, is just if Chubb goes away for whatever reason, then I think Hunt becomes that high percentage play.